So here's another example with the knights. Actually, I think you guys already got the point with the knights. So how about this? Here's a word of caution. So I think that people are, when they learn maneuvering type of stuff, they get really excited about maneuvering. It's like they think they've learned some secret where tactics don't work anymore and we're just going to maneuver our lives away. So here's one game that I played recently in which I kind of fell into this attitude and made a serious error. So in this position, it's white to play. If I just make a decision based on what I'm outlining here about active pieces and thinking about their field of influence, where they really belong, it's possible to oversimplify. And in this position, I played bishop d2. My rationale based on this approach that I'm explaining was that my bishop on c1, yes, it is our game, this bishop on c1 has a worse future than the bishop on b4. I thought this bishop on b4 has a variety of dark squares that it could go to. And this one is kind of not so well placed because of this pawn on g3. g3 takes away one space for this bishop that I think is really critical, which has a ripple effect where the squares g5, h4, and f4 are not that great for the bishop. So I thought, hey, I'll just trade this off and enjoy some slight advantage. But little did I know that this position is hands down winning for white. So if anyone thinks they could find a winning move for white, go right ahead. I think there's more than one also. I was not concrete enough in my decision making, is how I would maybe say it. It's not that this is an exception to the rule, it's that I was not rigorous enough in my application of it. Hmm66 said knight f6, but you forget the line. Does that mean you checked it with a computer and you didn't actually analyze it yourself? I found a line which I think is quite within the capability of a person, no computer stuff. Alright, so d5 looks dangerous. Dangerous for whom? I think after bishop takes e1, looks a little shady, because after bishop e1 and just like queen takes e1 maybe, we could play maybe queen takes d5 or something. Yep, it's official. Jake's gone bishop blind. So, 66 says it's knight e5. Knight e5 probably is a winning move. It's not the one I picked. So, what do you think happens after knight e5? You know what, Jake? Maybe it's because the bishop's highlighted that you didn't see it. It's like how I turn my brain off whenever I see an ad. I'm like, oh, this sounds important. I better stop listening. So let's say knight e5, for sake of argument. What would black play here? Their knight's hanging, right? So they could either maybe take the rook on e1 or rescue their knight on c6. I don't think they really have other options. If they take the knight, that looks really dangerous. Like knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, queen takes d1, rook takes d1. Yeah. So knight takes d4, I guess Jake is saying. I think knight d4 is worth considering, but it also illustrates white's point. After a move like knight takes... Alright, first let's talk about this one real quick. This position is probably better for white. Looks a little unclear though. So the best move is actually knight takes f6, check, and then rook takes d1. And in this position, the rook's hanging, so this is winning for white. Okay, so I just want to clear that up before we go ahead. Now, if knight takes d4, I think this illustrates the point for white, but it's also interesting because the rook on e1 is hanging. Knight f6, pawn f6, what should it be? I'm not sure if there's a finesse here, if I should just take the rook. I was thinking that after bishop takes, the material is equal, but all black's pieces are hanging, and white's pieces are hanging too. So I was considering something to the tune of queen takes e1, pawn takes e5, and then just some kind of like awesome move like bishop e3. I don't know. Maybe this is not right. There's got to be something more forcing here, like some bishop c6 check in between. Knight c2. I don't know if knight c2 is good. Like, let's say check. It's going to be a mate here. Maybe I missed something though. But actually, I'm sure that knight e5 is winning. But the move that I thought was the most simple was bishop g5. Just say, I don't care about you taking my rook. Like, let them take. Basically, if they have any point in life, they have to take this rook. I don't see what they can do otherwise. So they take, right? And this position is just dead lost for black, mainly because the bishop on g2 is so active. It has multiple targets that are within ready reach. The field influence of white's pieces on this knight on f6 is just too great. So a sample line would be like castling. I think this is the most rational for black. And then knight e5, and it's just game over. Like, we're threatening to take this knight. We're threatening to take on f6 with some attack. For example, if they play bishop b7, we just play takes, chop, chop, take this, say thank you, take that, say thank you as well, and we're up a rook. Wait, no, we're not up a rook. All right, I guess I'm also off my game today. Right now we are down in exchange. Hold on, how did I mess this up? Probably have to start like this. Something like that. Alright, actually, why don't we take this a little more slowly? Maybe I'm being hasty here. So I was saying if bishop b7, right? Alright, thanks for dropping in, Ped Ragnarok. So what do you guys think is the best continuation for white here? Maybe taking out c6 was a blunder. Maybe we should just take right away like this. Or something similar. Getting tired after a long day. Here, I'll just check quickly with the computer. It says knight f6 is winning. I was kind of expecting this kind of thing. But this is just the same thing as what we were doing. So let's just check it out quickly after knight f6. Sorry I didn't do my homework for this one. Here it's probably a checkmating attack, like queen c6 followed by queen e2. Okay, that makes sense. So we're trying queen g4. This should win the game. Alright, so that was a small detail that I lapsed on. But the main line that I checked out after this was knight takes d4 because I thought bishop b7 was just losing. Maybe I miscalculated in my initial assessment. After knight d4, knight f6, pawn f6, bishop h4. White is just totally winning. Like, the rook's hanging, and if they rescue it, we play knight g4. and the attack on the king is overwhelming. So this is an example where my decision to play bishop d2 was informed by just a comparison of the pieces and their potential based on the pawn structure, but I neglected to factor in the activity of all the other pieces. So I guess the warning here is that you can't just always be thinking in this like very small mindset where I'm looking at the minute differences between pieces. It's also important to look for the big tactical blows.